Hello, I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Well, if you've been past the campus of Missouri Southern State University, you probably have noticed some construction going on and a lot of heavy equipment at work. And today we're going to find out what's happening. You may be asking. We're going to find out by talking to Bob Harrington, the physical plant director for Missouri Southern. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Judy.
We talked back in December, kind of saying these programs were coming, and now they're here.
Absolutely.
Working along. Well, I know, as I said, people drive past the campus. We have some video to show them of some of the massive dirt moving that's going on right now. I guess this is the real preparation, getting things started.
Absolutely. The site work, we started the site work on the athletic support facility the 1st of May, and that one was really critical to us because we had to move an Empire transformer and pull some conductors out, and basically it killed all the lighting on the north side of the stadium. So it was critical that we got started then so we get the site work done so Empire could get all the conductors back in, so we had our lights back for our football games in August and September, or our football players would have been playing with miners helmets with the lights on them, so it would have been kind of silly. But and then we started all the site work over on the residence hall, so we've got both of them basically going full blown right now.
And of course, I mentioned the heavy equipment that's out there. Of course, we've had the rainy spell now, kind of slowing things down, but you really have to prepare the base before you can actually start seeing the building come up.
And on the athletic support facility, a lot of it was we have to actually build a berm on the north side that kind of separates the grassy area where the cross-country course is from the stadium, because if you've ever been on that road in a heavy rain and you watch the water flow over that road into the stadium, and the stadium sits about 6 inches deep in water, we're trying to, with putting the new building there and everything, we wanted to stop all of that water flow. So the road that goes around the east side of the stadium will now be elevated on this berm, and there will actually be a catch basin, a retention pond on the north side of that. It won't affect anything in cross country because it'll be dry unless we just had a heavy rain, but it'll drain out very quickly. But what it will do is it'll keep all that water from coming across the road, getting into the new building or into the stadium anymore.
Right. And you mentioned both of these projects actually started in May before classes ended.
Correct.
You were able to get started on the residence hall area while there were still students here on campus.
Yes. We had to close the tunnel. Two of the buildings of part of the new residence hall actually sit right towards the very entrance of the tunnel on the north side. So we had to basically close it off so we didn't have students walking through the middle of the construction site to do that. And it'll be closed until we actually finish the project next summer, and then it'll be opened back up again.
Right. So I know a lot of people at this stage are looking at the dirt and thinking, well, what's going to come? We will have some drawings and things to show people as they're coming along, but you are working very closely with the contractor on a daily or weekly basis.
Daily, actually, and sometimes multiple times daily.
So your role with the university is really, you're the main contact person.
Yes, I'm the university's liaison to the construction project. It's called the owner's representative, and that's my job. I've worked with the architect from the very beginning on the design of the process, and we've done, in fact, all three of these projects we're talking about, we've done under kind of a unique format for Missouri Southern. It's the first time we've ever done this, and it's called a construction manager at risk process, where we actually hired the construction company, which is R.E. Smith.
Right.
At the very beginning of the project, the design people worked very closely with the construction company, so they were going through and determining constructability, materials, and everything during the design process, as opposed to, which is typically happens, the architect designs it and then you take it out to bid, and that's the first time the contractor sees it, and then they start saying, well, why'd you do this, or why'd you do that, or if we'd have done this, it could have been less expensive. And we got through that whole process during the design side of it, so it really, we feel very comfortable that we're going to have a very good project out of all three of these, because the construction people were sitting right there with the design people through the whole process.
And everybody was at the same table.
Absolutely.
The university is working together with them on these projects. I know you had some drawings back in December of what your vision of the projects, and between now and then there have been a few minor changes.
I will tell you that nobody would be able to tell the difference unless they had both drawings and are looking at them side by side at some point. We did make some changes. The project, actually both of the athletic support facility and the residence hall originally came in over budget, and we had to do what's called value engineering, where we went through and made changes to get it back down into budget, which we have accomplished on both of the projects. The FEMA shelter is currently out to bid. It went out on the street the first of this week. We'll actually have a pre-bid meeting next week, and we'll open the bids on I think it's either the 16th or the 17th. And FEMA approved the complete design and the budget design, and we feel that budget is probably very, very valid, because R.E. Smith has built probably 8 or 10 of these FEMA shelters in the area since the tornado. There's
all
been,
the
as
schools
you know,
putting
there's
them
so many
in,
are
right.
putting them in, and they've done many of these. So we feel that their numbers and their understanding of that process with FEMA is very strong. So we felt that the budget's going to be very good on that one.
Great.
We'll see when the bids come in, but we think we've got a really good project
that budget.
on that one.
And we're talking about budget and money, and people are saying, how are these projects funded? Bond issue played a key role on one of
The
those?
residence hall itself is paid for by a bond issue. The university took the existing bonds we had, I think it was from when East Hall was originally bonded out to do that. And they refinanced that and added an additional $14 million to that, which became our total project budget for the residence hall. So, and we've brought it in at under $14 million. And one of these parts of this construction manager at risk, the reason it's called at risk is the construction manager actually gives us, after the bids are in and stuff, they give us a guaranteed maximum price of what that project will cost us.
Oh, sign on the dotted line. This
Absolutely. And then they're responsible for making sure that it comes in at that level. The only thing that changes that is a change order that we institute going into it because we want to change something, which has obviously changes the contract at that point. But other than that, the contractor is totally responsible for the cost of that project. If it comes in less than the guaranteed maximum price, the university gets the difference. If it comes in excess of that guaranteed maximum price, the contractor pays for it. And that's true of all three of these projects. All three of these projects are under that type of arrangement.
Now, you mentioned FEMA, so FEMA money is helping pay for that shelter.
Yeah, the FEMA, actually, we had a grant of, I think it was $86,000 to actually design the facility, pay the architectural fees, and do all the design work. Once we had a full set of construction drawings and specifications, then we had to submit that back to FEMA, and quite frankly, it took about 3.5 months to get approval from FEMA for construction. But then they approved the second half of their budget, which is actually the construction side of it. They pay 75% of all what they call allowable expenses. An example, on a FEMA shelter our size, which is about 12,500 square feet, it'll hold 2,000 people. FEMA feels that 2 bathrooms or 2 stools, for instance,
that's all you need in a big building.
That's all you need to support that for the period of time they're in there. Obviously, we want to use this facility for other things also, since it's going to be right in the middle of the residence hall area. They're going to use it for activities. It's a great big open facility. So we added bathrooms to it. Well, the difference between the 4 stools that FEMA would pay for and the 6 or 8 that we put in there, we have to pick up the difference. So that's the difference between allowable expenses. They allow so much for, as an example, heating and air. Their perspective is you have to have heat, you don't have to have air conditioning, you got to have ventilation.
They're not seeing it as a long-term
It's only going to be
use
in there for a short term. If we're going to use the facility, we have to have air conditioning in there, so the cost of adding the additional HVAC is part of ours. The university will actually have right at $800,000 invested in the FEMA shelter, which is our 25% of the allowable cost, plus the difference that was unallowable that we picked up.
But this will be more or less a multi-purpose type facility.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be,
like
I said, it's a facility that it's basically wide open. There's no pillars. It's like a big gymnasium, big field house type arrangement. It'll easily hold 2,000 people to put in there, so it's a wide open space.
Big gathering spot. And of course the athletic facilities by the stadium.
Yeah, the athletic facility itself is actually been paid for. There was some state money involved in it that we actually got from the state several years ago when we were looking at a weather shelter. We had probably $1.5 million there. The foundation has raised some funding, and then we've had a outside donor that came in and paid probably about half of it at this point to do that. So we're looking at an $8.2 million project on that facility, and basically it's going to be a 2-story facility. It's about 35,000 square feet total. The downstairs area will have the football locker rooms, baseball locker rooms, softball locker rooms, a weight room, and the training room. And then upstairs you'll have all the football offices, the athletic director offices, a reception area, a large classroom area, and what we're calling the alumni room that's got a catering kitchen with it, which my expectation is that's going to take the place of the president's tent that's down on the stadium, since it's all glass and faces the stadium.
Watch the field. Well, I know we have some drawings of the athletic facility, and if they can call
actually,
those
the
up, we
picture
can kind
that
of
you're seeing there right now, that's looking at the facility from from the stadium side. The left side on the second floor is the alumni room that I was talking about. The area directly under the MSSU in the middle is the classroom area. And then the area on the right is all the football offices. And then baseball, softball, and the athletic director's offices are on the back side, on the north side of that first floor.
Which we're not seeing from this.
Downstairs on the right-hand side is the football locker room. The big glassed-in area in the very front is the weight room. And then the training room is this area off here on the left.
So as they're working out in the weight room, they'll be able to look out at the
Absolutely,
field.
they're watching the field. And as you can see, the whole top layer is all glass. There's a patio out there in front of that glass so that people, for instance, in the alumni room or the classroom can actually come out on the patio and watch the game from out there as opposed to being inside in the air conditioned or heating.
Give them a choice, like you might do at a ballpark and going to games. This is actually, as you say, being built into the berm, the hill that you're developing.
Yeah, there's a hillside there, so the ground floor level is right at the track level, and the second level is kind of where the road is now. So it'll be an entrance at the second level and then an entrance at the first level right at the track.
Forward below. And we have some interior views.
Yeah, this area, when you walk into the main entrance, the architects were really particular. As we did value engineering, they really wanted to keep those white lines that you see are light bars.
Oh, okay.
And they've done that with these wood panels to really make that entrance kind of very striking as you walk into it. You can see there's a trophy case on the right-hand side, and then behind that area is the catering kitchen and the alumni office. So you're actually coming in, that would be the northwest corner of the building as you come into the main entrance to the facility.
So this is kind of the main way the students and the visitors and everybody else will have access to the building.
This will be the main entrance into the facility for anybody that's not an athlete coming in off the field type thing.
And then we have some other pictures that will show us some other aspects of the building. This looks like
that's
the
the weight room, and you can see the glass looking out the front that goes out onto the stadium.
And then the weight room will be utilized, of course, by the football team, but you also have the other
You got football and baseball, or
using
football, softball, and baseball will be in this building.
Okay.
The other sports will remain over in Leggett and Platt and continue to use the weight room over there. So this is a brand new weight room in addition to that.
So it's freeing up some space for the athletic department for them to be able to have their athletes in different facilities and so forth. And I think we may have one other view of this facility for the field house. If it's, they have gathering places as well where people can gather and meet together in the field house. So you see this being used by the teams that primarily use the facilities on that side of campus.
Yes.
The football, the baseball, the softball.
And one of the biggest problems that we've got with our current stadium is there are no facilities over there, for instance, for the coach to be able to pull the whole team in and hold any kind of a classroom meeting function. This room that you're seeing now is actually an academic room, a classroom that will be set up. And again, it's all glass on the front facing the field, but it gives us the opportunity to be able to set it up either classroom style, banquet style, or whatever. But it will allow the coaches to be able to actually have meetings with the team right there at the field where they can talk to them, so you don't have to traipse back across Duquesne, go back to Leggett and Platt, or to one of the auditoriums or something for their meetings. They'll actually be able to hold them right there at the stadium.
And they will then be using that as their locker room, not having to go to the little tent that's on the end of the field now at the other end. So forth.
We haven't decided what we're going to use that for yet, but yes, absolutely, they'll have their own locker room.
There will be locker room facilities for both teams. The visitors will also have facilities.
Actually, the intent at this point is our team obviously will use the main locker room. The baseball and the softball locker rooms there will be used by the visiting teams as they come through.
To work that out. And with the intent of being a storm shelter initially, it will also provide shelter in case of a storm?
It's not a tornado shelter, but it is a storm shelter. I mean, it is a weather shelter at that point. So we will have room because of the large area in the training room and the weight room and the corridors and stuff like that. We can actually get people in out of any kind of a severe weather situation.
Well, I know we've had games where you've been at the stadium and lightning and they say, please exit, there's lightning.
Absolutely.
And where do you exit to?
Where do you go? Go get in your car and hope you don't get struck, I guess.
Trying to get to your car.
Kind of crazy.
And tying that. So that facility is under construction. What about the timeline for that?
Actually, our expectations, we'll have it completed by May of 2015.
Okay. So fall of 2015 season.
Again, the push was to get all the site work done so Empire could get all their work done. So by the time school starts mid-August, the parking lot in front of the stadium will be back open again, so it'll be totally accessible. The The tailgating area north of the stadium won't be, because it'll all be
that's where the
way
building's
the
at now.
berm and
Right.
everything's going on. That's not going to happen. But we'll actually move the fence back as soon as we get that part done, also to free up all of the area for cross country, because we have our biggest cross country event, which is the Stampede, which is typically the third weekend in September. So
the timeline's going to go click, click, click.
yes, there's some points that are very key to us, and we've got to have it done by these points to make sure that it's ready for our team and everything when we get ready to have our games again.
Let's go back across the street and look at some of the drawings for the residence hall. Basically, I say residence hall, but this is apartment living.
It's actually an apartment complex. Actually, it's made up of 6 separate buildings. We call it one complex, but there's actually 6 buildings in it. It'll have a total of 51 apartments. With the exception of 3 apartments, they're all 4-bedroom apartments. Each bedroom has its own bath, and then the 4 dwellers in that apartment will share a common living room and a full kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Each one of the apartments has its own washer and dryer in it, so they're fully set up.
You don't
like
have to
a
go down the
regular
hallway to the
apartment.
laundromat or
Exactly.
anything.
You've got your own bathroom, you've got a shared kitchen, you've got your own washer and dryer. They're going to be pretty nice. I think they're going to be very, very comparable to anything that the students could rent in the areas around us.
And this was, I know when it was being developed, you were actually surveying students. What do you want in a residence hall?
And that's the thing that we found out, is that the old concept of 2 people to a room with a common bathroom down the hallway, for the most part, nobody's interested in that anymore. I mean, that's really gone away. We did get a lot of interest in, as we have done with Blaine and McCormick, where we took the first floor rooms and converted them basically to private rooms.
Right.
So they're carpeted, they have their own furniture. You still have to go down the hallway to use the bathroom, but you do have your own private space. And there's people that prefer that, that like that environment and don't mind the bathroom down the hall type thing. But the vast majority of the students that they have found nationwide, as they start looking at residence halls, really want that private bath, their private bedroom where they can lock up, but they do still like the common areas where they can share and get together with their friends, not only in their own apartment, but common areas within the complex itself where they can gather and sit down and talk and
Just
be
socialize,
rowdy and
right,
have
as
fun
student.
and do whatever they do. Absolutely.
So we can see the 3-story structure. So you'll have, looks like some stairwells as well as elevators.
Yes, there's 2 elevators in the building. There's 5 stairwells to support all of them. Big courtyard right down through the middle of all the apartments. It'll be a lot of grass and concrete, and again, gathering areas inside of that to do that. The end part will actually open up. It's kind of a double V-shaped facility, which when we show the site plan, you'll be able to see that. It actually opens up into a courtyard that feeds right into the FEMA shelter. So the FEMA shelter actually becomes a key component of not only this complex, but the whole residence hall around it.
So the FEMA shelter kind of ties things together over there for you and tying them together. So the structure, modern architecture, I'm sure the facility inside, you're going to have a lot of modern appliances.
There's an island in the middle of the kitchen that's got a solid surface type, countertop on it, full range, dishwasher,
and these will be
refrigerator,
furnished
ice maker.
apartments, so they won't have to drag in couches or anything. It'll be
all couches. Everything's brand new. In fact, we, as part of this program, we decided that since the bond issue basically extends out for 30 years, that it did make a great deal of sense to buy furniture and appliances and pay for them over 30 years, because obviously they won't last that long.
Right.
Although we have some that were just moving that probably hasn't been there that long. But theoretically, they won't last that long. So what the administration did is they actually took out a short-term loan that we could actually go to, it's about $2 million, that we could use to buy all of the furnishing, and then they'll pay that off over a couple of years, as opposed to paying that off over 30 years. And what we've done is we are actually replacing all of the furniture and all of the appliances in all 8 of the apartment buildings and all 3 of our existing residence halls. So Blaine, McCormick, and all 8 of the apartments, when the students come back in August, are going to have all brand new furniture and appliances. East Hall will get changed out a little bit later, and then when we finish out the new complex, which is scheduled at this point to be done and ready for the fall semester of 2015, it will all be new furniture and new appliances throughout that complex also.
So even with the older facilities, they're going to have a different look.
Yeah, everything will be all brand new. And we are actually in the process of working overtime, and I hired 2 additional temporary painters today that we realized we would never have this opportunity again to have all 64 apartments empty with students and every piece of furniture out of them. So we're doing overtime and extra people, whatever we need, that we're painting all 64 of the apartments while they're down. And actually 2 of them are getting new carpet. Steggy is getting totally recarpeted, and we're recarpeting stone. We typically will do 1 apartment building a year. And Steggy, not only, as an example, we're not only recarpeting it, we're replacing all the flooring out in the entranceways, the stair treads in it, as well as we've taken out all of the countertops and vanities, replacing all of those, new sinks, new faucets, and everything as we go through it. Steggy is the 4th apartment we've done that with. Like I said, we've been trying to do 1 a year to stand by. When they took all the wardrobes out of stone that were built in, they had carpeted around the wardrobe, so we ended up with a big hole in the bedroom floor. So we ended up, it just made sense to go ahead and recarpet stone at the same time. So we'll actually get 2 apartments totally carpeted out this year.
Right. So people will have a new look if they're a returning student.
Absolutely.
They're going to say, wow, look, my room has changed, or, the rooms have really changed for them. And that's tying into, we hear a lot about the quality of life and the quality of the students, what they're looking for in their pride in the university.
The other thing we're doing, like in the new apartments and even the apartments that we've remodeled, is we're really increasing the bandwidth on the Wi-Fi. Like each one of the new apartments in the new complex will have 3 access points for Wi-Fi in each apartment building. I mean, each apartment itself. So the bandwidth for Wi-Fi for all of our students will be very, very strong.
There's not going to be a problem when you have to get off the internet. I need to get on it.
I don't think so. I think it'll be in pretty good shape.
And so modern, tying all of that together. Well, another area that we've heard about construction-wise, and I think we mentioned in December, was a project for a walking trail in Missouri Southern. I understand that's still in development, but tying together the mall and the university. We got actually, we applied with the city, in conjunction with the city, for a grant from MoDOT to build the trail. We are approved for the trail, went through the process and selected the engineering firm out of Springfield, Great River Associates as the engineering firm. We've met and they started laying out the trail, did the survey, and then the EPA and DNR changed the floodplain guidelines for that area around Turkey Creek. So they actually expanded the floodplain further into the area. There's 3 property owners involved with the location of the trail. Actually 4 if you consider the other side of the creek where the mall is. Right.
So there's 4 property owners involved, and there's a very lengthy process of paperwork that the engineers now have to go through to get approval from each one of these 4 property owners that they understand the ramifications of the expanded floodplain guidelines and what impact it could or could not have on them, and they have to agree to that. And the engineers are in the process of going through that now and doing that. And basically, I said it's a very lengthy paperwork process, as you can imagine.
Right?
What they have shared with us now is that we'll probably be ready to go out to bid on that project this fall, start construction as soon as we can, and we should have it ready by next spring.
So a lot of things coming around in 2015.
Yes.
A lot of things to look forward to. And of course, another item, we see the sign across the street from the university is the baseball field. It's going to be coming around in 2015 as well.
Absolutely. That's one we're getting ready to put out the RFQ for that process right now. I would imagine it'll go out in the next week or 2. Our intent is to have it done by the spring of 2015 for our team to be able to play on at this point. I know the foundation is still working to raise money, and the university is looking for any other source that we can to come up with the funding for it. Like the residence hall and the athletic support facility, you can't use state funding for those types of things. It has to be considered an auxiliary fund, so you either have to have donated funds or other funding type mechanisms to do it, because the state will not pay for those kind of
projects,
venues. So.
Well, I know you've been here for a while at Missouri Southern. Is this one of the busiest years you can remember as far as construction? We've had projects, on an ongoing basis throughout the years. This
is probably the busiest one that we've got, where we've got as many things going as we do, because we've got the 3 major construction projects that we're doing. Plus my staff is doing, we've got 3 major office remodels and suites that we're building out this summer. 1 in Reynolds, 1 in Webster, and work in the library that we're doing. I've got a crew that's we're changing out all of the floor tile on the 2nd floor of the library. It was one of like so many of our buildings when they were originally built, had asbestos floor tile in it. And when they started having problems with the asbestos tile, as opposed to taking it up, they went in and covered it with vinyl tile.
Just seal it with something else, right?
Tile. So now when we're taking it up, because now the tile's coming loose, and so we've got to take it all up. So My staff has been trained now on doing the asbestos rebatement, so we're doing that on basically Friday, Saturday, Sunday while everybody's gone, then work through the week to put the new tile down. But again, it's a library, which means you've got to move this section of shelving. You know, we did
All
the
those
lounge
books,
first,
yeah.
so we put up new shelving over here, moved all the books to here, took this shelving down, did the floor here, and it's going to be that kind of a hopscotch, basically, process to get through. But we'll have it done by the time school starts again. Very similar to what we did at Reynolds last year, where we did all of the public areas in Reynolds.
And a lot of people may not realize all this that goes on the university in the summer when it's supposed to be the quiet months. For your staff, it really picks up.
Yeah, for us, that's our busiest time of year because people are out of our way and we can actually get stuff done for the most part. But I have a phenomenal staff. They're very dedicated and they do a fantastic job. And the construction projects that we do, and it's like the office suites and stuff, are every bit as good, if not better, in most situations than the outside contractors do. And I think part of that's because my staff knows they have to live with the people they're building it for. So the contractor can come in and leave once it's done, and if they got a problem, it's no big deal.
And your staff
my
has
guys see them every day of the week, so that's not going to happen.
Build in the pride. And this is not to mention just the ongoing maintenance. You have buildings that have floors to be waxed and cleaned and
and you consider every one of our, we've got what, 720 basically beds in residence halls between the three big ones and the apartments. Every one of those have to be totally cleaned. Carpets either shampooed, or if it's a hard surface floor, the floors are stripped and refinished. You've got all the classroom floors. I mean, that's when we do the majority of our floor work everywhere. The painters are obviously painting everything they can get their hands on at that point to do that, both inside and outside. I mean, they have to paint all the crosswalks. They paint all the yellow curbs and all of the things that you see on the outside of the buildings too. So that's all done with 3 people. So they stay pretty busy.
So those people who have a home and think it's a lot of work to maintain a home where you're cutting grass and cleaning up and remodeling, just look at the university size scale.
That's like when we hire people for the grounds crew, you know, look and say, oh, I mow my own grass all the time and I weed whack and everything. It's, yeah, but do you do it on 375 acres? You know, it's the difference between your yard and 375 acres.
How long do you want to be sitting on that mower?
Exactly.
Right, and tying that together. Well, Bob, I'd like to thank you very much for providing an update today. I look forward to seeing things as they develop, and we'll follow up as the construction continues.
Very good.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. I invite you to join me again the same time on this station next week. We'll see you then.